My current role is the Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Air Force for Science, Technology, and Engineering. So similar to what you heard from Ms. Purcell and Ms. Johnson just before me, we've identified the criticality of standards as being central to maintaining our tech advantage. And so our activities are overseen through our research and engineering and technology are well aligned with this part of the Air Force oversight. I'll just move to the second slide, which gives you sort of a broad spectrum of our activities, similar to the other briefers, my co-panelists here. We've got efforts in improving and engaging with non-government standards as our default. Some of those are specialty area standards that we are seeking to mature to meet Air Force needs. And then and those are in areas, I'll give you some deep dive on these areas as well, particularly in open systems, very critical to our design and development and maintenance. But as well in areas like cyber security, we're very active from a specialty engineering standpoint in developing resilient reference architectures for critical applications such as precision navigation and timing or electronic warfare. We also have reverse engineering activities or anti-reverse engineering standards and others in this area, as well to include human systems integration and safety and health. And then on the far right of the slide, you know, we're very focused, and I believe the Air Force has a well-founded and run effort to make sure that we're maintaining our standards, whether they be that are government unique, whether they're MIL standards or handbooks or MIL specifications. We're committed to maintaining the currency of those documents that are critical and are military unique. My next slide, I'll talk a little bit deeper in the area of our engagement in non-government standards. In 2019, as you see here, we actually updated our Air Force instruction 60-101 to reinforce and reiterate the importance of our airmen and service members' involvement in non-government standards bodies. We actually have monthly standardization synchronization meetings, and some of the things that we do when we sync with our Air Force activities and standards is provide some training. We've utilized the DSPO, the Defense Standardization Program Office materials, as well as NIST on getting involved and what the types of resources are available and why it's so critical to maintain our involvement as an Air Force, as Department of the Air Force in these bodies. We are base by base, whether it be Wright-Patterson Air Force Base or Tinker or Hill Air Force Base. Our bases are reaching out and providing sort of base-wide or center-wide access to non-government standards. And this is, I know, something that's been a challenge across the Defense Standardization Program for a number of years. And we still continue to try to provide efficient and consolidated access for our technical workforce to be able to access the standards appropriately and with available licenses. In terms of our breadth across the standards community, we actually conducted a data call earlier this year, and we identified over 170 individuals engaged in standardization bodies and across as it says here, about 50 different activities whether they be like SAE or IEEE or ASTM, Open Group, ASME. And in many cases, we do maintain voting rights or actual, standardization leadership positions with these organizations. I would say that in general, and this is not unique to the Air Force, the common problem is prioritizing the time and effort for these important technical subject matter experts to be able to participate on all of these activities and convince their leadership in all cases that time and effort is a priority over what is their daily mission for their chain of command. So we're taking every opportunity that we can to reiterate as the Air Force Standardization Executive Office, to reiterate that it's really important long-term and strategic to have strong Air Force participation in these activities. My next slide, I'll go into the second column, or that second pillar that I mentioned, which is in this area of specialty standards. One deep dive that I just wanted to share with you, and I've got 2 slides on this, is our work in modular open systems approaches. As folks probably are well aware and recall, MOSA, modular open system approaches, were mandated for all of our defense acquisitions in the FY17 NDAA. And shortly following that legislation, many of us across the department got together and aligned, and in fact, the services signed out a tri-service memorandum calling, endorsing modular open system approaches. And in the Air Force, we then codified our requirements for modular open system architectures in our Air Force Instruction 63-101, which is our lifecycle management activity. So this provides that overarching foundation, and some of the diagrams on the slide kind of get into some unique kind of specific open architectures for this one depicted here is for the air domain. So as we have carried out this policy in the Air Force, we have been funding and focusing on developing government reference architectures for various applications. Like I mentioned, the one that's depicted here on this slide is the Open Mission Systems architecture. We have a new office that we've now stood up to help manage this activity, the Open Architecture Management Office. This OMS architecture, it defines critical interfaces for a system. You can see sort of the central yellow bar running through the center of that diagram. And it's probably a little bit of an eye chart for folks here, but there's sort of an abstract service bus that is defined, and then the interfaces between that common bus to various subsystems of the air system, as well as core capabilities that would be able to plug in through universal command and control interfaces, providing time and navigation capabilities, other external system interface definitions that would be able to link in to that common service bus, as well as data storage. And then even you see on the right-hand side of the chart, other common interfaces, such as safety critical systems, other legacy system interfaces. We make sure that we're able to define how our platforms can interface across all of these core systems to the air platform, as well as other external interfaces and systems. And so these common definitions and standards are critical for us, and we've now mandated them currently on our F-15 platform, our B-2 platform, our new B-21 platform, and some unmanned systems such as our MQ-4 and space assets as well. I want to go one more slide deeper. The next slide 5 depicts how we are how we're working to figure out how to integrate the various open architecture standards together in a common government reference architecture. And so you can see how we're able to identify common functions such as electronic warfare functions, common sensing functions, common communication functions. Once again, being able to integrate those in a common set of interfaces. And our Open Architecture Management Office is leading the effort to mature all of these sub-architectures or these domain-specific architectures, and then be able to align them with the OMS architecture. So it's a lot going on, and it does get very complicated, but it's very beneficial to have not only a common sort of platform architecture like that OMS for air platforms, but sub-domain architectures in these capability areas are also very beneficial to establishing common standards for, because these are all independently maturing and developing over time and affecting multiple platforms. So I also wanted to make a point here that as we're maturing these different domain areas and capability areas, we're making a designated effort to mature those through model-based engineering activities. And this is also going to facilitate our move and our transformation to digital engineering and our digital transformation that I'll get into in the next slide or two. But this model-based and data-centric environment, and for each of these individual domains, allows many of our programs and these technology areas to be able to access the latest in information, the latest in models, so that they can then leverage these architectures and standards right directly into their system. And so let me go to the next slide, which is slide 6. And I think it's just in summary, in the area of specialty standardization activities, we are supporting multiple DoD-wide working groups with our OSD partners as well as our service partners in areas where we have common interests. You've heard of many of them today: digital engineering, modular open systems and model-based engineering, and human systems integration. We're also supporting multiple initiatives that may be led by our DSPO or other organizations, some listed here, such as microelectronics, directed energy, precision navigation and timing, additive manufacturing, and diminishing manufacturing sources and safety. So as I mentioned before, that survey that we conducted earlier this year is really informative and helpful and we're reinforcing all of those activities, a few listed here on this slide, to be able to make sure that we're making advanced use of these standards and connecting as best as we can to the non-government standards bodies, including SAE, IEEE, but many others as well. The next thing I'd like to just mention, because it is going to be so influential and critical from a standards perspective, is the Air Force's digital transformation vision. So Dr. Roper recently, I think just in mid-September, about September 15th, at our annual Air Force Association conference, he revealed and provided to the public his his direction and vision for digital transformation, which really involves not only digital engineering and management, but agile software and open architecture. And you can already see how this overlays with our standardization approaches that we've all been discussing here. So really, really relevant and important. Foundational to this digital transformation vision and this digital trinity of digital engineering, agile software, and open architecture, the Air Force is seeking to develop and make available the entire technology stack, so to speak. So all the data, the models, the software, the associated infrastructure that a system needs throughout its life cycle, we're building that infrastructure through our cloud and platform architectures and through associated government reference architectures in order to provide these sort of like digital engineering as a service. And in order to do this, and to make this real and to make it really automated, standards are absolutely critical. And so as we make this next big digital transformation leap, we are involving and embedding standards and common architectures, common data, common modeling as foundational elements of this digital transformation. And lastly, what I wanted to talk with you about on slide 8 is our efforts in maintaining our standards documentation, our government unique standards. I'd like to highlight that we have a standardization management office at Wright-Patt, and they act as the preparing activity, as the slide says, for the Air Force Materiel Command. And what they're really doing is they provide a critical role to manage the expertise for all that provides and supports all the standards across the Air Force, and they help manage our update and maintenance of all of our standards. And so I'll give you an example. As you well know, the ASSIST database has a function to kind of alert when a standard is becoming, reaching sort of a 5-year or a need of update. Our Wright-Patterson Standardization Management Office actually notifies our subject matter experts over a year ahead of time to give extra time and planning to be able to engage on that document that is in need of update. So this has been a really terrific activity. Not only are we making sure that we're maintaining a well-known repository of our experts across the different types of standards and different communities, but we're kind of trying to proactively get ahead of the need to make sure that we're doing a good job with making the updates and fixing outdated, standards as required. The other thing I'd like to point out here is to give a quick shout out to our Air Force Research Lab, who over the past years have established, they've categorized all of their standards documents into sort of 52 specialty areas. And they actually have assigned a lead engineer for each one. And this has helped them to focus and update in a very deliberate fashion. And they've actually been able to reduce overage documents from you could see from 342 to just 10 remaining. So this is a big lift from our Air Force Research Lab. So pleased with all that effort, and I think a model for all of us. as we go forward. So this is an important part of our standards program, and I think we've got very good foundational elements and experts and support to do this. And so in closing, on my last slide, slide 9, I'd just like to summarize that the Air Force continues to reinforce the importance of standards. We recognize that they're critical to our efficiency of acquisition, our ability to rapidly produce, rapidly be able to achieve modernization of our systems, insert new technology, and facilitate a digital enterprise. We are continuing to support our Air Force expert involvement and engagement with the non-government standards efforts. We're building standards activities as foundational into our future digital transformation, but also in the specialty areas, including human systems integration as well as advanced manufacturing. And we're going to continue to maintain the currency of our existing documentation. I've left here on this slide our POCs, Kyle Hurst and Matt Ratcliffe as POCs in my office, who helped me to oversee this activity. And subject to that, I will stand by for any comments or questions for the panel. Thank you.